was amazing. I was in the lobby and this guy walks up. I'm like, my God.
It's like nothing has changed. It's wonderful to see Terrance again after a long time. Here we are.
I love it. Thank you. Prince disarming, or Prince alarming.
Prince alarming.
All right, so what time is it? We on target?
12 o'clock on the nose.
All right, piss off anybody coming in late. You come in late, you get what you get. And it is really warm in here, and I've been doing this like for like 15 minutes, like an idiot.
I think we're closer to a half an hour at this point.
Half an hour I've been doing this.
Yes.
Well, stop it.
I'm not getting paid.
Stop it.
Just stop it.
Belladonna,
all right, yeah.
your head keeps getting cut off because you're standing and I'm recording. So it's up to you if you'd like to keep standing.
All right, all right, I'll sit up here then. Is that good?
Yes.
Oh, God, manager. Give her a smooch, and she just never leaves. All right, can you see my ass? Is my butt showing?
It's very alluring.
Somebody is spanking tonight.
So, all right, you guys ready?
Of course, let's do
Excellent.
it.
So everybody, you guys ready? Yeah. All right, I'm going to start this off. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I'm going to knock down up to you guys to get more, all right? All right, so here we are. Repo, not Repo Man, as it says on the side. I was trying to tell them Emilio Estevez will not be here. Sorry.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, so Emilio will not be here. I'm sorry. But that's okay. So, here we go.
It's not so. It's always kind of funny when you see that, to this day, people are still people are intimately involved with the project. They're still spelling Shiloh wrong, or Vile, they'll spell it B-I-L-E, just so that I know how they feel about me. Just a little glass full of Vile. I know, right?
Well, I know how that is, I get a lot of shit with that. They're like, Belladonna, or what the hell is going on there? So I understand. It's all good. Do you prefer Terrance or Terry?
Well, what would you prefer?
Terrance, it sounds very cool.
Let's go with Terry.
Terry!
That's
all right. I don't know how to say your last name, so fuck it. Terry Z, everybody! All right, Terry Z. Fucking hell.
Well, funny enough, I went by Terry. That's what my parents called me. I think when I was a child, Terrance just felt a little, perhaps, pointed out how strange I actually was. But I had this voice, so at some point, Terry felt odd. So I kind of morphed into, so it was like 20 years Terry, 20 years Terrance. Then there was kind of something in the middle, but I think I've warmed up to Terry again, so that's cool.
Oh yeah, that's all right.
Useless information.
I've been filling them with useless information for half an hour. So, we know what kind of pie everybody likes. All right, so let's get into the questions here. We'll do that. All right, so Terry. So with something like
Belladonna.
Oh yes,
Belladonna.
This is going to be like 20 minutes of names, and that's it. All right, so with something like Repo, I know you said it was a long time coming to the screen. Many years on stage and everything. Getting a movie together is quite difficult. But I mean, this is very much like a creation. You're a creator. So you have all these ideas that come out of you, and you put them on the paper or whatever. But when you start sharing with the world, things evolve and change. And then you do a film. Now you've got producers, directors, actors, costume people, and everything. Do you feel that the vision of what you may have originally started came to the screen really thoroughly, like it really represented it, or did it exceed expectations, or would you do anything different perhaps if you feel that? Yeah.
And your response.
I know. Well, maybe I'll start by saying just sort of where Ogre said it's been a minute. It's been a minute, both since we've been in a room together, let alone on a stage trying to talk extemporaneously about this work that we collaborated on. 16 years, something like that ago now. And it began before that for me, because it started off as, firstly a little 10-minute operetta that the co-author with me put on in little clubs and stuff in LA. And then that morphed into sort of a one-act stage play, then to a fully produced thing, both in LA and then in New York. and then we made a short film, and then the movie became. So as someone who was there and living and breathing it for every step of that, and then beyond, because now this is a continuation of it, this weird vestigial tale or something. So I suppose to try to get back to the answer to your question is like, it is a breathing relationship in some ways, and maybe because it is so, it took so much to do it.
Right.
That there is no passive way, no casual way to do it. I was just blinders on doing it for about 8 years, and I wouldn't change that. But when you have the blinders on, especially when something's sort of alive, and when you hand it over to the world, it takes on another life. It's almost like I never quite know which version I'm meeting.
Sure. Right.
And so, in some versions I like better than others. And I don't even mean necessarily the art or the way someone else feels about it, but maybe I have an association with a specific moment or an iteration. And so, so I won't just filibuster. One of the most interesting things about coming to something like this is you also all have your relationships with it. And sometimes you'll bring up something that triggers this weird memory for myself. And while I suspect most of you, it's the movie that you know, and maybe if you really know the movie, you know all the little warts and the wrong subtitles on the DVDs or whatever. But I might have a version of a song that might have been, okay, this is what we did in 2005 in New York. And while it might be in the movie, the line changed to this, I still kind of remember it there. And so sometimes I'll hear maybe what it actually is, or I'll hear another version, and it just whips up this whole story. And so to answer your question, it's kind of on a moment by moment basis.
So it is like a living, breathing thing to this
Yes,
day.
and as such, it's a, well, it's probably a dysfunctional relationship. So it has high highs
Sure.
and low lows, but
Well, that's any
I'm happy we
creation.
did it.
Yeah. That's any creation, yeah. So for your character, the Grey Woman, now is that something you yourself, like this is my character, 100% this, is that only you or more people involved in creating that character?
Well, that's probably the only role that doesn't have the benefit of someone else to
Sure.
see who did it better.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I thought of it like, you know, the play Our Town, you know, the stage manager. You're like the stage manager from hell. You're sort of like guiding everyone through this story. It's pretty amazing. And you got such a lovely voice. Everybody loves that, you know. But I mean, was it really just like, this is my character? And you've been like, did you really create it completely yourself, or did anybody else kind of nudge you in different directions for that? Because when you're on film too, it's very different.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Having played a few parts that I wrote,
Yeah.
and music is really the core of it for me. So I like telling stories through sound. So I feel like similarly, probably in that phase, I felt a lot more like the grave robber, or maybe wanted to be the grave robber. Which is to say, cool all the time.
Yeah, I know what that's
Depressed,
like.
and you know, with insomnia and you know all that. So I think that was a version of something at the time, and just even funny enough, I was watching Fight Club the other day. First time I'd seen it in years, and it's a movie I really like. But
Are we allowed to talk about that?
yeah, but I bring it up because it's funny. You go back and you look at what was inspiring you maybe at the time, and so I had done all these sketches of what the Repo characters might look like. And so it's funny going back in time and going, oh yeah, this costume looks like it was inspired a little bit by The Crow. This one a little bit by Tyler Durden. This one by, you know, and it's sort of,
But there's a bit
at
of
some
like
point,
what you know,
at
yeah,
some
you
point,
know,
hopefully it
right.
became original as opposed to just an
Well,
iteration of all these things you love.
Conglomeration of so many things, right? I mean, all the different inspirations I have is all kinds of shit. A lot of it's this guy's fault over here. So now I'm gonna ask you a question.
Don't blame me.
It's all your fault. Come on. But that's the thing, inspirations, you know. I mean, when I was very young, was inspired by you, and it's all involved in many things. So now the question for you. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Repo was the first picture where you like had a more starring role. Is that right?
I did. I think in a way, I mean, I can go into the choice from them. There's also the business choice of having a Canadian lead, perhaps, possibly, for some financing things. Maybe, I always thought that may have been a bit of a possibility within it too, but yeah. But I self-denigrate, which is too much. I was very lucky to get the role.
What he's saying is not everyone would work by the hour.
Minimum wage!
No, it's cool though, because I mean, I think it was like your first like role where you actually like, aside from, everybody mostly knows you from the stage.
Yes.
And I mean, you've created over the years so many different characters and personas and whatnot, and you're storytelling on stage. Now when you're doing that, though I know people help you put stuff together, you're in control of it all. That's your show. So when you get into a movie, of course, it's you're working with so many different people. So I guess my question for you, I know that, I love it. But I mean, it's a different kind of.
It was. I mean, I can share with you guys a really self-denigrating story. The story I was telling Terrance I wanted to share there tonight was that. So I went and did an audition for Repo. I had done an audition for The Crow before for Fun Boy, who if I would have gotten the role, if I didn't have such a shitty fucking audition, excuse my French, I would have probably killed Brandon Lee. Oh my goodness. Which is weird. So I came out of that not knowing. I went into my audition with Repo trying to be prepared. So I did a bunch of preparation for it. Went to an acting coach and went down to North Hollywood. And I had a gag. I had a mirror with me that I was playing with out front, and I was sitting outside the thing, and all of a sudden the doors opened, and there's nobody outside on the street, and suddenly the doors open, and there's a bunch of kerfuffle, and Paris comes walking out by me, and she comes walking out, and I'm holding my mirror, and I'm kind of looking up, I'm going, she comes by, she goes, hi, and I go, hi, and then she leaves, paparazzi outside, I don't know where they came from, and so I'm going, oh shit, now I've got to do my audition. So I go in, and Terrance is there, wonderfully supportive, because I think these guys wanted me to be in the movie. Terrance did, and Darren, I think, and so they were up there supporting me. And what was your girlfriend's name at the time?
Elisa.
Elisa was there too, very supportive. Darren was in the back, kind of sitting against the wall. And I kind of got a vibe Terrance wanted actors that could sing, not singers that could potentially act. I don't know. So I went up and did my thing, and I was like, Pavi. I was like going through my thing, and then I said at the end, I was like, do you want to know who fucking Pavi is? This is Pavi, and I turned my mirror, and I had Paris's picture in the mirror.
That's nice.
And everybody laughed, and it was a great thing. I left the audition going, oh my god, it was. I'm so happy. Yeah, I just had a good audition. Didn't care if I got the role, but I went out like Mary Tyler Moore in the street, throwing my hat up.
Auditions are really stressful.
They're very stressful.
They're horrible.
But he had no idea Paris Hilton was going to be there. This just happened to be this prop he prepared.
Because that was kind of the next question, was like, how much of Pavi is really your creation? I mean, because again, you know,
I was really going off a lot of notes from these guys and trying to do the best. They wanted somebody who had, you know, this idea of elegance, but not being very elegant. This fake kind of Italian inflection, like he was something, and he wasn't. I mean, he was a very kind of shallow, kind of, you know, skeezy kind of.
Who came up with the appearance, the look?
These guys did. Was sure it was Terrance. It's all Terrance's design for sure. But I just wanted to say, so when we were doing the auditions, and once we got past the auditions, we were running through things, and one of the most embarrassing moments, but again, very kind of Terrance, so we were at the piano, I don't know if you remember this, and we were just, they're running through to see where my range, I think of my voice was or something, and they're like, give us a standard you could sing. And I'm like, in my mind I'm going, Mary has a little lamb. I don't know. And
then he decided to do Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
No, I did not.
And by the end, not a dry eye on this side of the rainbow.
On the other side.
On the other side.
So I don't remember how we went through it. I think you guys let me off the hook with it, kind of, and I was just going, my God, why am I even here? You know, in a way, you know, it was very, 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 very strange, and yet you're so supportive, and you know, I've never thanked you for that, but thank you. So these guys kind of got me through a lot of my fears of being on a set and doing that kind of stuff, which I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Wow, beautiful.
So I mean, Pavi's voice, what did that come from?
That came from me wanting to sing higher, and they wanted a broken falsetto, and that's what they fucking got.
Because I remember when I first heard it, I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. Because I was so used to the way you normally do things. And I'm like, it's so much range.
Well, I'm a tenor. I think I'm a tenor. I actually went and did voice training. So I was singing in a long range anyway, I think, before. So to be able to do a tenor, yeah, incredible to be able to kind of bring that range up and be a high voice, squeaky little monkey
I
behind.
have one
us.
more question for you guys. In terms of the people, did Paris have a chihuahua? Did she have a chihuahua?
Oh, did she ever dog there?
I believe, yeah.
So I was going to be like each other. She's not good for much else.
No, she was. Paris was
She was
great.
very nice.
Paris was great. Paris, yeah. I mean, she was very kind of self-denigrating too. I remember we were all holding her in a picture at one time, and she turned to Bill, myself, and Paul and said, "Am I fat?" I was like, "Oh." And then we were doing a rehearsal. What was that bit that got dropped? The little dance routine that we were all doing. Do you remember?
Bravi?
Yeah, Bravi.
Okay.
Bravi. We were all having problems with Bravi, with the dancing. So we had-
Bravi indeed, right?
Bravi. So we had to go in on a Saturday
Bravi,
morning. Bravi, Bravi. We had to go in on an early Saturday morning for dance training, and so we all came in, and we were sitting there, and I kept walking by Paris's trailer and smelling the best freaking weed I've ever smelled in my life. Like, what the hell? And she could just bring it across. She had that.
That
kind
answers
of,
a lot of questions.
Yeah, she could just go through a security, I found out, with no problems. And I was like, so we're all sitting there at like 8 in the morning, we're all groggy-eyed, and Paris comes in, she's all like, hi, and she's all like totally happy and cool, and she's wearing these sweatpants, and I remember that's cool, and she was eating fried rice, and the cutest thing, and I'm not saying this to denigrate Paris, I thought it was super cute. She was eating rice, and then she got up, and she was dancing, and then she left the room, and I saw the little piece of rice right between her ass cracks.
Art imitating that. Well, I mean, you had so many great people here, so I was like, Paul Sorvino. I mean, such a great cast. I mean, it's like the guys cooking for him, I'll be honest. I'm sure you had a lot of stresses and worries, you know. And it's an indie type thing, so it's tough.
These guys had the stress. I didn't have any stress.
Who is going to be? Not you.
Well, it was just fun being in makeup, for sure.
Well, I know what that's like too. All right, so we're gonna. Anybody got questions for the gents here? Did they actually pass out Valium for you guys? Seriously, nobody? We've got. They're right here. You've got a question. What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah.
By the way, I love you guys. She introduced me to you guys, but I love you guys so much. Your inspiration for Pavi, the face with the staples. We saw later on how Paris had a whole new face that just went on, no problem whatsoever, no staples, no nothing. Was there inspiration behind him having just another face on top of his face, or was there no?
Instead of having like a real
Like,
surgery.
yeah, no surgery, it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
staples.
I got you.
So what was the inspiration behind that?
What a wild, weird little detailed question. Like, you
You guys were
know,
scared.
we're living in a world where it's like, you know, I thought it was a cartoon to draw the fish lips. And then it's like, you know, cute. And I thought, okay, for a while it'll be there, but it'll be extreme, but maybe a little shameful. And then it'll become extreme, but no one talks about it. And then it'll just become high fashion. And you'll be like, when did we agree to this? So
It's like
maybe,
Repo predicted the future.
well, something like that. So, you know, why one version of a fake plastic surgery future is wilder than another is the thrust. Well, I think one, Pavi's an extreme character.
He's a psychopath too, right?
Yeah.
Constantly changing faces, right?
And you know, it's hard sometimes to remember exactly at what point elements of the story maybe change to, well, for example, meet the constraints of a film. So when we've been doing it on stage, I think the running time was something maybe like two hours with an intermission on top. So something like that. And I think the film is 90 minutes. So even just with that alone, like 30 minutes is going away. And it may have been more. And then on top of that, we changed things to some we just thought would be better for the film. And then of course, some as you realize by doing it on stage every night, it didn't work the way you thought it was going to. So we decided to cut it. But I suppose maybe part of the answer to your question is a deviation of the story that happened at some point along the way. So when we began, we saw Roddy as a brother, not as a father. So there was like a three tenors sort of Looney Tunes-esque opera parody that we're doing. So it was three brothers in tuxedos and cummerbunds and basically whiteface. and they would do this kind of comedic, much more slapstick. And so in that iteration, 3 brothers and a sister, there was a real delineation, very obvious in the roles. And they took on different things. And then along the way, we decided to be stronger if Roddy was the patriarch as opposed to just the eldest son of a missing patriarch. And then just by merely doing that, now it's a father-daughter relationship. And so it opened up an entirely different line of, but I think if it really comes down to the essence of it, it's each of these characters' way of saying, fuck you, Dad. Amber's is just a little different than Poppy's.
I think we can all relate to that. Anybody else got questions? Come on, questions. You, what's your name?
No.
Just play along.
Okay. I'm Reese. You know. I was wondering if there were any actors that you wanted to be in the film but you couldn't get or that had to drop out or anything.
That's right,
There, for certain there was. And maybe going to, thank you for that earlier, by the way, going back to what Ogre was saying about the experience. I think one of the things that made Repo cool, and also why it's clearly not for everybody, for some people it just, you know, and I'd like to think I'm one of them, which is to say that the art remained true to wherever it started, as opposed to becoming so corrupted by the process that it doesn't resemble itself anymore or something. And making a film, that can happen. You wouldn't, it's like, you'd think like, how does this happen? But it does, you know, you're in the middle of it and there's so many things going on. But I suppose I was never all that interested in like the Broadway singer version of this, nor in the sort of Hollywood goofy version of this. But at the same time, we obviously wanted to be successful. I don't know that I knew what that looked like at the time. I think it looks different now, but I'm still not sure what that looks like. But I think I was always really interested in character voices, probably more so than some, gotta have this name, or you know, this person. So I think it's like the Disney cartoon in me. Like I started in animation, and I just sort of like feel like that's the difference to me. It's sort of like, where are the great voices, people that can sort of really just be distinctive no matter whatever the character is. And sometimes that really works going that direction. And sometimes you realize you lose everything in the process. Like there's no melody anymore. Everything is just character. And I'm not sure always where that lands, but perhaps the biggest casting thing, which we've talked about before publicly, but Patrick Swayze was cast as Repo Man. And we were recording him. And so because Repo's a musical and you record all the music in advance, then the actors have to learn to lip sync to their own performance on film. And their own performance might be an amalgam of multiple takes, you know, so it's like another form of a performance. And Patrick Swayze was gonna be Repo Man, and which is wild, right? Because there was one time when he was like Mr. Hollywood at this point though, you know, and it was shortly before he died. And I think that actually came into why he left, although we never had a candid conversation. There was a couple of just odd moments that in hindsight you go, oh. But it was wild. So yeah, we started recording him. And part of the process when you're doing something like this that makes that very difficult is because it's recorded in advance, it's recorded to match someone's key and even someone's performance. So we did a lot of tempo changing and stuff in the studio just to try to make it feel like it wasn't just singing to a track. So things would speed up and slow down in ways that just wouldn't happen if you were maybe just doing it, you know, just trying to form a song. So anyway, Patrick Swayze, we started recording in his keys, in his registers, including some of the heavy songs. So we had some like awesome players coming in, and then we had to redo it all when he couldn't do the movie. But what was, I suppose, the awesome thing about it is I didn't know Anthony Head before that. Bowsman was a real fan. So maybe that was the reverse there. Bowsman didn't know Skinny Puppy. I didn't know Buffy. And we met in the middle.
That was a trade-off.
But when Anthony came in and he started singing the parts, again, going back to that character thing, I had really, Jesus Christ Superstar is probably one of my biggest inspirations in terms of like operatic storytelling that isn't traditional opera. I love it, right? And then, so we were auditioning Anthony, and I was like, God, he sounds like Judas. And then I found out that was his brother singing on, not the movie version, the original RCA recording that they put out to sell this as a rock opera, not as a musical, like an audio experience. So Murray had, Anthony had, no idea. And I didn't want to say it because I'm like, God, he sounds like Judas. And Darren, the director, is a fan too. We're like, fuck yeah. We wrote it to be a rock and roll thing, and you know, we had different people play it on stage over the years. And sometimes you're like, wow, that person's voice is amazing, but it sounds like a music school. And then other people, they're great actors, but they just can't hit the note or something. And it was just like, okay, this feels rock and roll. It was like such a relief, you know, because I was thinking we're gonna have to do all this studio trickery maybe to add that on after or something. I don't know, it's silly, but that's what happens when you're sort of in the middle of this. So anyway, it ended up being like this amazing thing, because I didn't know, we were like, this is a bummer. This is who's gonna sell the movie, Patrick Swayze. Everyone knows Patrick Swayze. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We spent all this time, we spent all this money. And then Anthony came in, and it was like, oh, we get to push the music now. We get to push the music. And he wanted to push the music, you know. He was never just singing it this way. And I remember Yoshiki, the engineer, was very Japanese in the sense that it was either pitch perfect or it wasn't a thing. So much so that he records vocalists like a syllable at a time. And now AI is going to do that. And thank you, Yoshiki, for speeding that along, for greasing the wheels. And so he had this moment, and it was funny. And I'm sorry for rambling, but Anthony was deliberately doing what he was doing, and that was bending notes. And Yoshiki was just like, it's not in tune, it's not in tune. And I was just like, shut up. Because, you know, then at some point he said something to Anthony, and Anthony goes, I know. And I was like, so we're like, great, we got our Repo Man.
All right, questions, come on, let's go. No, we'll go back. Okay, back over there. What's your name?
Nicole.
Nicole, please.
So, I remember when I first saw Repo, I was just blown away. And now recently, you know, watching it again and the backdrop of reality. So when you look at the work then, and then look at kind of where we're at now, I have a lot of takeaways, but I'm very curious kind of where your thoughts go with, you know, kind of the world we're in now.
Yeah.
Are we in that dystopian world? I don't know.
No, man, I think so.
No, not at all. Everything's fine.
It feels like it's getting close to
Well,
reality.
you know, it's weird, right? Because also, I don't even know, I suppose Repo was extreme in some ways, but I don't know that I ever really even saw it that way. And so even going to like today, would we even make Disney Italian accents? I want to say yeah, because fuck you. But I don't know. You know, the world changes, you change, but obviously there is a message there. I would say the thing that maybe, if there is any predictive thing in that makes me sad, or makes me wish maybe we weren't right, if there is anything to that. I think there's like a shamelessness with identifying with corporations, and that I just don't even understand. And so as an artist, you know, well, funny enough, my girlfriend and I watched Rent, the movie the other day. So, you know, I'm familiar with the music. It was never one of my favorite pieces, but I've seen it over the years, and I got to work with Adam Pascal on Hallelujah. He played Roger in the original Rent. And there was a line in it where one of the main characters, who's a videographer, and on the one hand it was like this corny 90s version of what do artists look like? Well, you know, put a scarf on him and give him a camcorder, and that make, or you know, so that sort of thing. But at the same time, there was a line in it where he's offered a big gig, money, right? They're struggling artists to shoot for BuzzFeed or some TMZ like thing, and the fact that in the art he expresses not only conflict for that, but that he would be losing something. That's not the goal. At best, that might be a necessity, but I'm not even sure I buy that. But the notion that that's kind of become the goal now, and artists are just like, yeah, just sell my stuff, whatever. It just makes me a little sad, because the thing I liked, and I think I'll always be, is I like the Rebels. And I think Repo is a piece of rebellion in whatever way it was at the moment. And casting Ogre and Skinny Puppy in this role, you know, as opposed to some, I don't know, goofy actor that had a name at the moment.
Matt Damon or something.
Yeah.
Matt Damon.
So as such, I'm so glad we did that, and then we became friends and made cool art together and made 2 more movies together. And we're not done.
We're not done.
All right, who else has questions? You. What's your name?
Taylor. Hi. It's like right before when the end credits are rolling, Ogre does a rendition of the Repo Man. Is there a full version of that song recorded somewhere?
There is, isn't there?
There is. So
I don't like the look of that face.
No, well, take that. All right. Well,
There is.
Repo's 20 years coming up. As I said earlier, I've had a difficult relationship with it, but I've had a difficult relationship with all my art, which is to say, you know, with this guy. So I've kind of had trouble looking back at it for a long time. But in doing so, I feel like, man, I kind of just gave it all away. You know? But it's time to take it back. So, at least on my end, for the last 6 years now, I've been just in the lab, again, working in the way that I did when I was doing Repo, which is to say, not healthy, not wise, but got it. And maybe COVID, maybe just becoming disillusioned with the industry, maybe just reaching a certain age. It's kind of evaluating, where am I now, and what do I want to do, and what do I want to give, you know? And so part of it is I've been working really hard on a new project, and so there's 3 new albums coming, like they're recorded, they're coming this year probably. Around Halloween. Part of that is a book. So I don't know if you know, but I draw as well. And so it's like a full 400-page book, illustrations, beautiful piece of art, a companion piece to one of the albums. So that's some self-promotion. So if you aren't following American Murder Song, please do. We're very close to coming back from the ashes with something really cool. But part of that is I've been digging through the archives of all this stuff. So there's so much music from Repo that was not released. And I'm not just talking about awesome songs like his version of Repo. I didn't even realize, for example, the song that we thought was going to be the single of the movie, Come Up and Try My New Parts. Paris' solo. Why we cast her, ultimately, right? This is the big song. I'd forgotten we never even finished it. And there's a whole slew of reasons for it that were, if I told you, would take the rest of the time, and each one is absurd, and each one is a hill you could have died on. But, you know, because it was so much, you just even forget. So I forgot that like half of the music that's in the movie hasn't even been released as like an album. So I've been working, and very soon, some stuff that hasn't been out there. It's cool stuff. Is coming.
I think everybody would like to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Like a really cool release, and everything would be double discs and all that, fancy artwork and whatnot.
So, you know, and in this, it's a long-term goal, which means it's not gonna, because in the past, one of the hardest things about doing this is it takes years to write it, and then years to produce it, and then at the end, you're like, oh, what's left? You know, so I'm trying to think a little smarter so that music is more the front of it, and as such, I hope you'll collaborate with us again.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because there is some stuff right around the corner that's gonna keep these universes that you love a more curated piece of art.
And I know you said you record the songs before the movie. Did you record that one before the movie also, or is that kind of like, oh, we want you to do like?
You know, I'm showing my age here, but when you brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, I did do that. And honestly, after you said, like, when did I do that? And honestly, I don't remember. Was it after, or do you remember? You don't remember either.
Your recording?
The recording of
Repo.
Repo.
Oh, of Repo.
Was that done after, or before? I don't remember when I even.
That was done after.
I think I did that with Mark, maybe too. We did that. It's just sorry.
It's okay.
Gone.
It exists.
Okay.
We would love to.
I just
release
remember
it.
like trying to Google it. I was like, where do I find the full version of this?
That's exciting because this stuff's coming around.
Yeah.
You and Darren talking a little bit?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
A
I won't
little
say
bit.
anything more.
I don't know in what language, but
I'm just tittling.
It's
Darren.
beeps and whistles.
Like, at least there's something going over the hill, you know.
Right. You know the good thing about going over the hill? No brakes.
No regrets. All right, who else? And no regrets. Anyone? Well, maybe a few, but. Name.
My name is Joey. So I've seen a little bit of like the behind the scenes videos and stuff like that. It gave me a little bit of an insight into it, but I just wondered if you had both like a story from working on one of the songs that you were really fond of. I know you were working with Bill Mosley and stuff on Mark It Up. I really enjoyed the behind the scenes video on that, but if you had any other stories that you'd like to share, I'd like to hear.
I feel like I have filler butts.
I'm just here to look pretty, so yeah.
Mark It Up has been an interesting one. Is that specifically what you're asking about? Or?
Oh, no, not specifically. That was just something that I brought up.
Okay. Well, I will say this. The interesting thing, Mark It Up, I would say, is one of those that was more of a showstopper on stage. And it was written as such. And
Organs flying around.
well, it was just, it was less of a character introduction of the family members and more of like, here's the Jinko factory. So there was the chorus repeated more. There was a chorus of people singing it. We had on stage, we had like these decked out medical carts full of black lit rubber organs and test tubes and all of this. And so again, the brother, or the Largos were three brothers and a sister initially. So it was the three brothers and sort of this Jinko stuff. And it's not that it isn't that in the movie, but I feel that that was one of those transitions that I'm so glad happened. That it didn't just remain sort of like, I don't know, the villainous sing-along, and became maybe actually edgy. And maybe when you cast Bill Mosley and Ogre, you actually have to go, right? Because it was almost like, well, do we even, I remember there was a whole discussion of what rating is Repo? And it's like a weird question, like, do you really think about that as an artist? I mean, I suppose you do. I hate that I do now. But, you know what I mean? Like, so I think it was brought up and it was like, well, naturally I would think R, but why? Because is R synonymous with edgy, or is that just synonymous with some goofy? So it didn't know, so we had this whole conversation like, well, sister fucking and brother fucking, that's not gonna be a G, but, you know, but is that the joke? Yeah, it's like,
What a great.
fuck it, let's do it. It's Bill Mosley and Ogre. So we leaned into it, and so now it's almost even hard to remember it as a sing-along as opposed to like, you're introduced to the archetypes, and they're not really playing by the rules. And if they were all singing in a nice little conformed thing, it'd be playing by the rules. So, hope that answers the question.
I have I can give you guys a king of self-denigration, but I had a wonderful experience with Paul that was also, it was interesting and fun. So I was on set, we were doing a scene where Paul's at his desk, dad, and he's looking at the two kids, and he's just I have a picture of me, it's with, that they brought with me peeling a face off a girl. And Bill's, in some other, and he's looking at us with disgust, because, we're supposed to be the good sons, and he's supposed to pass this on to, but he's just, just looking at us with disgust. And so I had my first close-up, and the assistant director came up and said, Ogre, Mr. Sorvino's not feeling well. He's got a bit of a chest thing. Do you mind doing your close-up without him to play off? And I said, of course. I didn't expect he was going to be there anyway. And it was my first close-up, so I was just like, of course, no problem. And all of a sudden I hear this coming down the hall. And it's Paul. And he comes in, and he goes, he can't do it. It's his first close-up. He can't do it by himself. And he sits down in the chair next to me, and he's like looking at me. And it's the scene, I don't know if you remember, I'm like this. He literally ripped into me. Like, just tore a pound of flesh, just calling me, you disgusting little worm, you're just horrible. And it was just, my God, I was just like, my God, Paul. And then I cut, and I was just like, oh. And he comes up and he goes, smiling, he goes, we had a moment, didn't we?
He must have been wonderful.
It was amazing. It was fucking amazing. Wonderful guy.
That's very Paul. So one of my moments with him, it was early on in set. It was in the graveyard scene, and we had the fog machine and what have you. And I'm hearing like, Paul can't. It's like it's smoky.
There's a fire. There's a little fire in the leaves. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And
that was
like, shut down the set.
that might have been a good thing. You probably was on
it. It was, but I know where you're going with this.
So there was like fog, and and we're just doing our thing, and I'm hearing like he can't. It's like he's an opera singer. He can't be out here in the fog, and he cares about his health. And I'm like, okay, so I gotta go deal with this now. But whatever, it's like you're on set. I go into his trailer, and he makes me look. He's like 6'5" and both ways. It's all like he's in this tiny trailer, doors closed, smoking a cigar, like a giant dick. I just can't perform in these conditions. Zdunich. And I'm like, okay, what do you need? And then he said some stupid, I just need some water or something. I'm like, awesome. Can we do this? He's like, he needed to let you know, like, this smoky air. My eyes were turned, they were burning, it was so hot. Yeah, I know.
That give you a good fellas kind of moment. Anybody else got questions? Anything else? All right, you're right here. What's your name?
Zoe.
Zoe, go for it.
So Ogre, every time I watch Repo, I'm very impressed with your voice as Pavi and how different it is from what I'm used to listening to from Skinny Puppy. Can you do the Pavi voice?
It's about effect.
I'll try and do the famous, my brother and sister should fuck. That was I'm a convention voice right now, I apologize.
Thank you.
Terribly done, I apologize.
Never let me be in charge of anything. Anybody else? Questions? I saw somebody back there. Way back there. What's your name?
August.
August.
I just had a question actually for all of you, but as artists, what is your favorite part of the creative process?
Getting through it?
Yeah. When I was talking earlier about the struggles, maybe part of the struggle is forgetting to end it on a positive note. And maybe in some way, even just saying stuff is coming is a version of that. And that is the truth. But I suppose, to circle it back to that a little bit, when I look at all the iterations, when I look at the time spent, sometimes the time wasted, I would say if I regret anything, it's just I'm never in the moment. It's always like thinking ahead. And so I think maybe the last few years and having it be a difficult time on many, many, many levels. One, just questioning things. It kind of forced a re-examination. And I think part of that re-examination how do I want it to end? And I don't just mean the story, but I mean everything. You know, like what is the art about like? And it's kind of weird to step back a little bit and maybe look at it with fresh eyes. And not only from what's there, but maybe what you'd like it to be and what you would change or what you would do different. And so maybe I've always known this. I don't know that I did. Even if I did, I don't know if I would have said it out loud before because it would almost felt not true. But for doing all this weirdo, dark, I want to make everyone smile. With like a capital S. Do you know what I mean? I love the dark shit. I was raised in that suit. I carry it like a fucking cross. But at the end, I kind of want to smile and make stuff that's fun. And maybe the rebellion is the smile, as opposed to the middle finger. So hopefully this next phase we'll see where it lands. But in the end, I want to produce smiles so that I can have one too.
That's wonderfully put. Yeah.
I thank you for supporting the endeavor.
I totally agree with Terrance on all points, and I think for me, you know, art has always been like you all. I mean, I know you're probably here for Repos by some Skinny Puppy people, but the Skinny Puppy experience for me was, you know, I was working through a lot of issues on stage, and so I'm very appreciative in my working process of having an audience that received me and accepted what I did and all the strange stuff I was going through, which allowed me to get through a lot of things that I worked out psychologically on stage. And I think that after 40 years, the biggest thing I can say about the creative process and what you're talking about is that at some point you need to abandon the process. It becomes yours. It becomes the audience's in a lot of ways for me. And so Skinny Puppy, anything I've done with Skinny Puppy is now the audience. So I love hearing the interpretation back. Mine is kind of irrelevant because it was always meant to be cryptic and interpretive and things like that. So I think, you know, part of the creative process that you get to, that's a wonderful place to be, is when you abandon it and you don't really, it becomes somebody else's at that point, and then you can move on to the next thing with a lot less baggage.
Right. I don't know, they're gonna like grab a hook and like rip us off stage or something?
Probably.
What time we got? What are we at?
45, 47.
Okay, something. Any questions, anyone? Hey, there you go, what's your name?
Josh.
Josh, go for it.
What advice would you give to up-and-coming actors, actresses, and filmmakers just breaking into it, whether they're 15 all the way up to 60? What advice would you give those?
Well, maybe, again, as a continuation of this, throw actor away. Why? What are you offering? What do you want people to feel? What do you want to feel? And it's never easy to answer that, right? And maybe it is something, maybe it's simple. Maybe it's just, man, I want someone to applaud every once in a while when I walk in a room. And if that's the case, you know, lean into that. But hopefully it's more. And if you can just find what that is, you're not even auditioning, you're not doing whatever it is. You know what I mean? You're only competing with your own shadow. So if you can just come in and be you, exactly, whatever that is, and maybe it's a heightened version of you. But, you know, so I would almost say, like, forget the acting. I know that's part of it, but that is just, that's a tool. I think it's really, who are you? If you can lead with that, like, you know, everyone will want that.
And embellish that with the character after, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, I mean, I think, well, my opinion's not relevant here, but I just say, you gotta find what you love and do it. You gotta be true and honest with yourself, whatever that means. Find your art and start creating. It doesn't matter if you're 15 or 60, it doesn't really matter. Time is irrelevant. We have all the time in the world if you want it. Just find the things you love, do the hell out of it. Whatever you gotta do to make it happen. And I think, you know, things like Repo, well, like you said, again, it's a journey. And you know, all the years be with Puppy and everything else, you kind of stumble into things, and then you find your place, you find your pace, and you just build the shit out of it. You surround yourself with good people, and something you said very important, smiles. Bring smiles to people, even in the darkness. So that'd be my advice for that, though you didn't ask me, I'm sorry. I gotta say something, I'm sitting up here like this, it's very nice. Is anyone, come on.
Hospitality. corpses, and of course Chop Top, which I was just blown away by as a kid. I loved that character, and so I wrote him and I said, hey Bill, Ogre, Skinny Puppy, I'm gonna be your little brother. If you want to beat the shit out of me, you want to throw me around, I'm totally down with that. And he was like, he wrote back like, what? And I looked into it and I was like, oh, he's Harvard educated. Oh, he's interviewed Edward Teller. Oh, he's done a thing on cattle mutilations. Oh, and so we met, and an incredible guy, and he took me under his wing and kind of, showed me the ropes, kind of taught me how to not get screwed by assistant ADs when they're trying to make you sign your time. All this stuff, he kind of just took me under. And then he would fuck with me on the set too. And so a little scene where him putting stuff on my shoulders, all ad-lib stuff that he would do, that was incredible and a lot of fun. And he was picking on me like my big brother.
You guys have great chemistry in that.
It was
The
amazing.
scenes just like, they just come to life.
It was a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time. We walked around Toronto a lot, and I think I was on his, wanting to get to know me so we could be brothers in a way. But wonderful experience. Again, I just want to say at the end, Repo was, I think, was probably my top 5 experiences in my life, with just an amazingly good time with an amazing group of people. I know that sounds cliche, but it really was. It really was special and fun. And one last thing was I was in full makeup. When Sarah Brightman was singing her aria and I was like the Phantom of the Opera. I was going around behind the set, hiding behind the camera, watching the scenes and everything, peeking out. So I don't think I ever got on camera, but it was a wonderful day. I was in heaven watching that. So.
I have no idea if another panel's coming in or not. They told me absolutely nothing.
Well, let's break this. We'll break this so you guys can go have fun for the
Well, we
afternoon.
have, Ogre has an op in like 15
Oh,
minutes.
do I?
Yes.
All right, so
1:10.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming out, everybody.